Hello and welcome. This is going to be a quick video on some of my favorite lessons to use at the end of the year as an elementary music educator. Now, this is just episode one, but episode one is pretty chock full because we're going to be taking one of my favorite stories to bring into the elementary music room, Zin Zin Zin, a violin. And what I have done is I've actually divided this lesson, this one story, into 4 lessons, teaching all about the orchestra, giving my students experiences with the instruments, being able to listen to each of the instruments, some fun facts, all the stuff, all while teaching some of those fundamentals of music. We're talking articulation, we're talking texture, pitch, dynamics, tempo, all the good stuff that you've been teaching the whole year, but now also adding in the orchestra and getting your students experiencing some of those instruments. So the first thing we do is we start with the brass family. Now, what I like to do is I just read the beginning of the book, and what I'll do is I'll read the first page, which is about the trombones, and why not have a video on Trombone Shorty, right? He's all over YouTube. Find him. It's a great way to bring in some different styles of music into your classroom. If you haven't talked so much about jazz, if you haven't talked so much about hip hop, Trombone Shorty is just the way to go. There's a story all about him, a beautiful picture book. Bring him into your classroom. All right. So we go from Trombone Shorty. Then you go ahead and you bring in some absolutely beautiful classical trumpet playing by Alison Bolstrom, the Haydn Trumpet Concerto, E flat. Oh my goodness. What I like to do also during this is if your students have had some experiences with the orchestra, or maybe they know a couple instruments here and there, then this is a great one because you can point out, does anyone know what this is? Oh, shout it out, shout it out. Make it more engaging, make it more interactive, right? Then from there, you go ahead and you read about the tuba. My students, if I'm being honest, I really did try to find the lowest notes that a tuba can play because watching my students' mouths just absolutely drop at just how low a tuba can play. Oh, it's so satisfying. So satisfying. So bringing in some tuba playing, and then at the end, being able to bring in some fun, absolutely fabulous Disney music, but played on the French horn, seeing if they can guess what Disney movie this song is from. So what I do is I play the first part and maybe see if you can guess, because it's just, I already know. I was so surprised at how many of my students guessed Little Mermaid. And if you did too, congratulations. Well done. Well done. The orchestra is a large band with lots of different instruments, and each instrument is part of a family. Now, I love using a bit of a map to go ahead and bring it along with me because throughout the weeks, we're going to be taking all of these circles off of our map as my students learn more and more families. And the first family that they learned is the brass family. We just went over horns, trumpets, trombones, and the tuba. What I then love to do is obviously give them some fun facts. Instruments are made out of, well, they guessed it, brass, right? You buzz your lips to make that sound. Go ahead and again, this is set your expectations pretty high. Make sure that you can trust your students to do without it getting messy. They are all different sizes of different sorts of brass pipes that are put together. Now, again, really trying to give your students a visual on how this brass family makes it sound is so important and so key. We're actually going to get into a brain break first, because by this point, my students have been sitting quite a bit. This is one of the simplest brain breaks. So easy, so fun. I take 2 Lumi 6. This is a walking beat. If you hear this beat, you walk in place. Going to, this is a running beat. If you hear this beat, you run in place. This is a ding stopping bell. You hear this, you sit and freeze. So easy, so fun, endless possibilities. Get your students up and moving. You will, especially at the end of the year where they have so much pent up energy, and you do too, while also being exhausted, while also being overwhelmed. It's a lot of emotions. You will thank me. We then talk about how all these different pipes are actually different sizes. So the trumpet didn't always look like this. In fact, it started off looking a bit like this. I don't know what it is about this. My students find it absolutely hilarious. I've used this lesson 4 years now. Every time they make them laugh, right? If you were to take that pipe and stretch it out, it would be 6 feet long, which is big, or as big as a grand piano. It's taller than me. Oh, it's so fun, so interactive. I then go ahead and I show how all the different ones, and each time you see the piping gets a little bit bigger, we stretch it out. Oh, it's bigger than an alligator. Oh, the tuba, whoa, it's even bigger. It's going to be 16 feet long. Oh my goodness, the size of a canoe. Again, I don't know why, but my students absolutely love this. Now it's your turn to explore. This video This video is just one of the best ways to bring in all that you've been talking about. I'm talking articulation, I'm talking dynamics, I'm talking tempo, I'm talking about it all, but in a fun journey through musical exploration with one of my favorite, absolutely favorite, Clark. Clark is one of my absolute favorite people out there because Clark will take you and your students through a journey as you listen to different classical pieces and the moods and the different fundamentals of music that all surround it.
You listen to music, it often makes you feel a certain way.
What I love to do is I love to give my students all instruments that are just simple percussion instruments, right? We're talking hand drums, we're talking tambourines, we're talking maracas, lumi sticks, triangles, right? All the instruments that we typically see in an elementary music room. And I love to give these out and let my students watch the video and just explore. Every time that Clark has a new feeling, a new emotion that then he gets to show through some classical piece of music, I pause, I say, everybody, you're going to listen for 10 seconds. And then I want you to show me with your instrument how you would play this. So something like Bernard Herrmann. Think about the articulation, think about the dynamics, think about the fundamentals that we've been talking about, and then try to put them into your instruments. It's fun, it's engaging. You get to follow Clark through all of these wonderful, different classic songs that are always in our brains and in our hearts. So fun. Absolutely love this video. I encourage you, try it out. That ends the first lesson that I use to talk about the brass family. Next, we go into the string family. Again, what I love to do is a quick review first. So, well, what did we talk about last week? We talked about the brass family. What about the brass family, right? Reviews are so important. Again, I don't know what it is. My students just absolutely love this. Maybe you understand where I'm coming from here, and maybe yours would love this too. But I would encourage you, just talk to them about how the different ones are made. Then going back to Zen Zen Violin, right? Reading a page from the book. Okay, well, we talked about the cello, letting them hear a cello song, letting them hear a bass song, right? Comparing the two. I think this is one of the most important videos that I show because the conversation that it sparks with my students, right? What are we hearing that's different, right? How are the pitches different? How is the timbre of the instrument different? All go hand in hand. Wild, wonderful, so great, so great. Then we talk about the violin. I love using this piece. This is Rimsky-Korsakov's Flight of the Bumblebee. The reason that I love it is because my students have heard this song over and over again. So if you have a specific song that you're looking to reintroduce to your students, but now through a different light, right? This time we're focusing, yes, on all the wonderful fundamentals that we've talked about, but also on the violin itself. If you want any more resources with this song, I have a couple play-alongs and I have a scarf dance with Rimsky-Korsakov's Flight of the Bumblebee on my YouTube channel. So make sure you go and check that out. And then we also love to do the same thing. Can you spot the difference between the violin and the viola? And then just like that, we have walked through another family on our orchestra, right? We talked about the cellos, the double basses, the violins, the violas, all of it. So good. So wonderful. Then we give them just a couple fun facts. The instruments all have strings. I'm usually using this with kindergarten through maybe second grade. So bear that in mind when you see my fun facts and that they are a little on the nose. The strings have to be bowed or plucked to make a sound. What I love to do here is I did have a violin in my classroom that I was able just to demonstrate what that means. And then also compare, well, look around you. What other instruments would need to do this? Oh, the guitar. Yes, the guitar would also need to be bowed or plucked or strummed is the word for that we use for guitar. Making all those connections. So wildly important. The end activity for this class is I love to take BB Bumblebee, BB Bumblebee. First, I walk my students through just some of the rhythms through it. So instead of just getting them to say it, but getting them to actually know the rhythms, come up to my Smartboard, tap it, right? Again, kindergarten through maybe first grade with this one, all right? Just because the tas and TTs are so simple, but then also teaching them the chant. Bee, bumblebee, stung a man upon his knee, stung a pig upon his snout. I declare that you are out. And then we talked about how these end lessons are all about going over the fundamentals of music. So why not do a musical opposite game with the chant bee, bumblebee? All right. We can talk about dynamics. We can talk about articulation. We can talk about pitch. If your students need a review, this one's a great. It's not my favorite animation style for sure, but it is a wonderful video that you can use in your classroom to get the earworm of this song in your head. All right, take a listen. So easy, so simple. Again, I don't know why, but my students find it just the most fun thing in the world. Most fun thing in the world. Going over the difference between forte and piano. Same with this wonderful video. Great way to bring in dynamics and so much more. So if your students need a bit of review on dynamics or articulation, then I encourage you, find a couple of videos, make sure they got that in their head before you play the game. Now, what I like to do is I have my students sit in a circle. I pass around. I didn't have a bumblebee stuffy. So I just had a butterfly stuffy that, felt similar. So we pass that around. And as we say it, we do bee, bumblebee, right? On the ta and TD, on the steady beat. And then whoever it lands on, instead of I declare that you are out, they get to go up to the board and they get to tap it for what we'll be doing next, right? So I declare that you are out. Go up and tap it. They tapped it. Now there's a P. Well, what could that P mean? Oh, we got to do a piano. Bee, bumblebee. Okay, the next one, all forte, right? Staccato, legato, then it mixes all up, right? High pitch, low pitch, right? You don't need anything fancy for this. It's a fun and easy and engaging way to get your students now chanting while bringing in the fundamentals of music. So simple, so fun. That was lesson number 2. On to lesson number 3. The woodwind family, again, doing a quick review on the brass family and the string family, what we talked about it, bringing back in zin, 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 a violin. Every time you read a page, then you go ahead and you show them what you're talking about. So already in this, we've talked about a lot of classical music, right? We brought in some Disney music. We brought in some hip hop, more R&B. We're going to be bringing more R&B into this, but why not also show them that a child their own age, right, can also do just these amazing things. My students love to see this and then love to guess how old she is. Right? She's 9 years old. My students find it so fun. So fun. Beautiful. Gorgeous. Right? We go over some Creole jazz, some very classic oboe, some very classic bassoon. You obviously don't need to use the same videos that I use, the same exact audio samples, right? Use whatever you can that makes sense for your classroom, whatever you've been working on, right? But I would encourage you to go on to YouTube and find this video, right? It's the song Fireflies. We all know it. You would not believe your eyes. But what I love is the video itself is going to have a whole bunch of woodwind instruments popping up, not always playing all at the same time, but always in different patterns, and it changes throughout the entire video. What I love doing is pointing to different sections of the Smartboard and seeing if my students can guess or remember what woodwind instrument is currently playing. So, pointing up here, oh, the clarinet, right? Oh, can you tell what this is? Can you tell that's the bassoon? Wait a minute, this isn't even in the woodwind family. Who is this? Oh, right, that's the French horn. Well done. Again, they'll probably know the song, and it's a great way to go ahead and quiz them on what you just were talking about while giving them the experience to go ahead and listen to it. So with that, we can take even more circles off of our map to talk about how we just learned about the piccolo and flute, the clarinet, the oboe, and the bassoon, right? And then give them some fun facts. Most were once made out of wood, but are not anymore. And you must obviously blow wind through them, right? Going through, again, very, very simple, but a great way to get your students to remember why they're called what they're called. It's getting so hot. Why not have one last cup of hot chocolate before the summer really comes? Some people don't like marshmallows, so this time we're going to be adding some whipped cream. We got to actually say, well, which one is it part of? Do we pick the whipped cream that has the percussion or the brass family? Which one is the trumpet a part of? All right. It's simple, it's interactive. Again, nothing crazy going on here, but I loved having some classroom candy where my students get to come up to my smartboard, right? I've also done this on a projector where instead of going up to the smartboard, they come to my laptop and they tap there, right? It's simple, it's engaging, it's going to give you a quick assessment, right? And what I love is it gets a little bit more challenging each time, right? Now it's not just two swirls of whipped cream, but now they have to pick through three, right? And by the end of it, they're going to have to be picking through four. Again, so fun, so engaging, so simple. By the end, you're ready for one big review where you talk about all the families that you've talked about, the brass family, the woodwind family, the string family, and then going into our last and final, the percussion family. Now, the tough thing about this one is there are so many instruments that are part of the percussion family, right? And zinzins and a violin, I don't know if you've really been able to read so much of it. It doesn't go over enough of it for me. So I made a couple extra pages for myself just so my students got to know a little bit more. So many here, it could all change. We never know what percussion will bring to the stage, right? Can we talk about, how we see the snare drum, how we see the timpani, how we see the xylophone, all of them, and then give them a nice interactive video. It's 15 minutes long. No way you can watch all of these, but really in these lessons, I never have my students watch all of them, right? I just find clips so that my students get the experience, but I still have full lessons with them. Being able to listen. What I love about this is this video is from Scheherazade, which is going to help for the final activity that is going to take place during this lesson. So we talk about the percussion family and then end with this wonderful video, wonderful video. Go ahead, check it out on YouTube or grab the lessons in the link description below. So fun, so engaging. We follow this lovely little boy named George as he decides what instrument he wants to play from the orchestra family. And this lovely, lovely band in Sydney, Australia goes and tries to help him find the instrument that he wants to play. So he walks through all the instruments that we just spent the last 4 weeks with my students walking through, right? He goes and he has experiences with each one. He talks with different members of this youth orchestra. He gets to experience different ones, and he walks through each of the 4 families that we just spent the last 4 weeks talking about. However, at the end, George decides, well, he doesn't actually want to be playing an instrument. He would rather be the conductor, which luckily for my students, they all seem to notice that there is just one person that has been missing from our map. And that is, in fact, the conductor. The last thing that I do for this lesson, for this entire lesson series, is we walk through this wonderful game, goclassical.org, Rimsky-Korsakov, Scheherazade. So fun, so engaging, so interactive.
In times long past, in the far history of the world, there once was a girl of bravery and talent. She was the daughter of the king's chief minister. Her name was Scheherazade.
What I love about this is you get to introduce your students to a couple more musical elements. Welcome, my name is Scheherazade, and this is my musical theme. Every time I want to speak in this musical story, the composer, Rimsky-Korsakov, has used an instrument called violin for my voice. What mood do you think my music has? Yes. What color do you think my voice has? Warm or cold? Oh, it's so warm, right? Throughout this game, you and your students will walk through this absolutely wonderful game. I just do this as a full class with it just up on my smartboard. But if your students have laptops, tablets, and they want to do it on their own, then that can be so much fun as well. Alrighty, that is it. I hope that you got something out of these 4 lessons. Again, taking zinzins in a violin, making sure that you're giving examples, listening examples, so that your students can actively engage and participate with the instruments of the orchestra that Zinzinzin talks about. Bringing in the fundamentals of music, right? Don't just use this as a way to talk about the instruments, but what the instruments are doing, right? The articulation, the tempo, the dynamics, all that stuff that is so good to review and review and review at the end of the year. And giving yourself and your students a chance to grab some classroom candy and enjoy the end of the year together. This was only episode 1 of my favorite end of the year lessons, so make sure you like, subscribe, and follow along as I bring you through a whole bunch more. If you want access to these lessons and my entire curriculum, go ahead and check out the Soaring Scribes Academy. Grab your free month. So easy and so fun to use, especially at the end of the year, especially if you're feeling just a bit overwhelmed. Or take my ideas and make these lessons yours. Thank you so much, and tune in for the next one. Happy playing.